Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Anthony Kovacs, Chief Operating Officer and a Director of International Lithium Corp. And I appreciate being able to come in here. My presentation might be a bit scattered because it's just a general and brief overview of the company and what we're doing essentially here, or trying to do, in moving our Raleigh Lake project forward. I myself am from Vancouver. We do land acknowledgements there as well. I'm from the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations traditional territories. I was born there. I went to UBC, so I mean it's been my home for my entire life. But over here in northwestern Ontario, our project is in Treaty 3. And our closest neighboring partners there are the Wabigoon Lake Ojibwe Nation. We've had a relationship with them since about 2010, 2011, when work first sort of started on what was then known as our Mavis Lake project. And here, of course, we're in the Robinson Superior Treaty in the shadow of the Fort William First Nation, and I'm very happy to be here. Cautionary statements, as Ian said, I'm just going to skip over this. I hope everybody understands that I put this slide in here, the 43101 paradox. You know, I'm here to try and tell you about our hopes and our dreams and how much, you know, we want to see our project move to production. But we're very restricted by 43101 in having to disclose all sorts of technical information in the proper format. Everything I'm about to say here today could be backed up, but in the 15 minutes that I have, you're going to have to come to the booth if you really want to hammer me on 43101. Our company is actually quite old by today's standards. It was formed in 2011, went public. Our key shareholder at that time, believe it or not, was Ganfeng Lithium Corp, which is now one of the largest lithium producers in the world. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a sec. Over the years, though, we went through some changes, and we have a completely different board of directors from when we started. Myself, too, I wasn't there in the very early days. I started with the company in about 2012. Came on as Chief Operating Officer at that time, and then I became a director of the company in 2018. Currently, we have about 250 million shares out. We're trading at about 4.5 cents, so I guess that's a result of being an older company. We do have about just over 6 million in cash and marketable securities right now to move our current project forward. We are international, even though right now our biggest focus is on the Raleigh Lake project here in northwestern Ontario. In Ireland, we still have a joint venture left over from our relationship with Ganfeng Lithium. And we are also in Zimbabwe looking at some early stage opportunities there. I won't say too much about that due to time constraints. With our initial project that sort of got the company off the ground, we had a brine project in Argentina. It was called the Mariana Project. That was joint ventured with Ganfeng Lithium. We took it to a PEA in about 2016, 2017. At that time, they took control of the project, and it's now in its production construction phase. In 2021, they bought out our remaining interest for almost 17 million Canadian in cash equivalents, and that's what's given us the funding that we have right now to move the Raleigh Lake project forward. That's what it looked like when we left. It's bigger than that now. Slide showing Ireland, wonderful rainbow, nice place to work. Ganfeng owns currently 55% of that project, and they're trying to earn 79%. They're operating that project, so we're not actually involved in that at the moment. We're just a bystander. And then, of course, we're looking in Zimbabwe at some early stage projects there as well. We think there's quite a bit of potential there. I'm going to skip through these into Ontario here. We did have more than one project here. We started out with the Mavis project, which is just outside of Dryden. That is now currently owned by Critical Resources, and they're moving that project forward with some very aggressive drill campaigns. We monetized that asset starting back in 2016, so over the years, and we had actually optioned it off to a company called Pioneer Resources. and they took that project to a certain level, and then they decided to sell it off, and we agreed because we were the minority holder in that case. We only owned 49%. But that project seems to be moving forward very well. We're very pleased, and we do receive some bonus payments every time they increase their resource estimate. We've done about 10,000, a little bit more, maybe about 13,000 meters drilling now at Raleigh Lake. In that time, we've been able to put together a resource estimate. Nordman, local company here, I see Kurt in the audience, put that resource estimate together for us, and we're very happy with that. We also have another grassroots project called the Wolf Ridge, but it's very early stage, and we haven't put too much energy into that yet. It's basically based on lake sediment results, and lithium's a bit hard to look for if it isn't actually sticking out of the ground. This is a map just showing the different project areas, and what we really liked about this region, which we identified way back in 2010, 2011, was the infrastructure. I think this is really a region where lithium can work. You know, we're talking about building refineries and all these kinds of things, but it really is, when you look around the world at lithium projects and whatnot, and what you have here in terms of infrastructure and markets and, you know, the auto industry, everything about that, I don't think you can find a better place. Lithium is an industrial mineral, so infrastructure is going to play a key role into the development of these projects. We've seen some other projects here in Canada come into production, you know, and starting to realize that it is a challenge. You know, you're moving a lot of material, very complicated metallurgical processes, and that's going to come into play if you have an area that's more accessible and let's just say easier to move things in and out of. That's going to give the project a huge benefit. Raleigh Lake here, though, I mean, it looks very remote when we look at a picture here. Beautiful place to hang out. But it really is just off the highway here. Highway 17 running just north of the project. CP Rail, Trans-Canada Energy Pipeline. Everything is sort of right there. You just turn, if you're heading towards Dryden from here, you just sort of turn left on Doreen Lake Road and you're at the Raleigh Lake project. We also have that 230 kilovolt power line running through there. That exists, that's running. The Waasigan line is going to come up and is going to twin that line. We met a fellow from Hydro One yesterday, actually, and he said we got about a 2-year timeline before that line actually comes through, but the existing line is already there. We expanded the project area. We're up to almost 50,000 hectares, but when we started this project, it was about 3,000. The deposit model, we were kind of following the Tanco deposit model in Manitoba, and I think it's still pretty much valid. Tanco is very rich in cesium, or the mineral pollucite. The big difference at Raleigh is we don't have pollucite, but we do see this microcline, this rubidium-rich microcline, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Just to get an idea of what the target area looks like, this was our drill plan from 2022, and we've got an area of about 850 meters by 300 meters that we highlighted as being the resource area. Haven't done too much drilling, 10,000 meters so far. In cross-section, we can see that we have a very gently dipping pegmatite dike type situation. It's pretty well behaved for the most part. Nice thing about our drilling is it's almost always true thickness or just within a few percent, so we don't have to come up with complicated sort of modelings and rewordings when we're coming out with our news releases. This is what it looks like in terms of looking at the pegmatite wireframe models, and then you can see the drill holes there penetrating the deposit. And again, about only 13,000 meters in the actual resource estimate, so we managed to pull that off fairly efficiently. This is my 43101 caveat here, just for simplicity's sake, and actually for my own brain. I did do the taboo, and I added all the different resource categories together, including underground and open pit, just so I could get through it here in about 45 seconds. And what we've got here is about 6 million tons, 0.6% lithium oxide, which translates to about 600,000 tons of spodumene concentrate. Everybody's thinking, oh, gee, that's such low grade. That is based on a 5 by 5 by 5 meter block model, so there's a lot of dilution built into it. These are the parameters we're putting into our PEA because we are actually quite interested in getting a quick estimate, as quick as possible, what is it going to cost to actually build a mining operation here, and what are the advantages that we're going to see with the infrastructure, because we think that's going to come into play in a big way. Now we also have this rubidium resource, and it's reported separately because it was actually calculated separately and is assuming that the spodumene ore will actually be removed, and then this resource will be exposed. So, I kind of call it a free digging, because at some point, if there's a mine here, as that pit is being mined, that rubidium zone is going to be exposed and is actually going to become waste rock. So that is essentially free mining to us. And what we're doing now is we're trying to figure out, the market for rubidium is actually very small, and it's controlled 100% by China. Trying to build economic parameters around that and who we're going to sell that to has become a challenge, and we are actively working on that. I've got a couple minutes left here. Just wanted to talk about the regional geology a little bit more. We have done a lot of regional exploration. We found a great number of pegmatites, and the interesting common theme is there is an abundance of rubidium in these pegmatites. We see these microcline feldspars, and they're all running, very, very highly anomalous levels. We think we might be able to use that now as a targeting technique to find more spodumene-rich pegmatites, because we've kind of walked the surface, and there isn't really a lot sticking out of the ground. But that being said, north of the main zone here, north of our zone 1 or pegmatite 1, we have what was known as the Johnson pegmatite. It was discovered quite some time ago. We did some drilling on that now, we just finished a couple weeks ago. And we're finding very, very close similarity to our pegmatite 1, where we got this 5-meter zone, which has a 1-meter microcline crystal in it, and some spodumene. So that's coming up to be a very interesting exploration target, and we think we might be able to add to our resource in the future if we investigate that further. That being said, I guess I'm pretty close to being done here. What's our way forward? We started a preliminary economic study. We're hoping to have that done by the end of this year to give us an idea of what we're looking at in terms of a mining operation, and that is 100% based on just producing a spodumene concentrate, which would most likely be shipped down to Thunder Bay here, and either somewhere else in the world, or hopefully somebody will build a plant that can handle our concentrate nearby here. We're also going to investigate this rubidium situation a little bit further. We've been meeting with some of the ministers and things. Rubidium's not really on Canada's critical minerals list, but it is on the US. It's kind of an obscure element, used in fiber optics. It's kind of a science element used in labs. It makes a very nice glass coating, so it's a strange little market scenario for that. But we think we have enough here that we could actually supply the world with rubidium for 50 years. That's in that small deposit, that's how much rubidium is actually there. And looks like I'm pretty much out of time, so if anybody's got any questions, I'm ready to take them.